When engineers were called to investigate a train, they found something that broke their hearts. When it comes to investigating a place and getting a job done, people don't really expect to find something out of the ordinary. Most of the time, they simply expect to get to the place, do their job, and return to their homes where they can relax and have a nice dinner before going to sleep. However, there are times in which some workers encounter themselves in a situation where getting a job done and going back home to rest for the night is no longer an option. And this is precisely what happened to a pair of engineers who were called to investigate an oddity going on the roof of a train. On the morning of September 20th, 2018, engineers Alan Au and Michael Ortega, both employees for the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway, went to their place of work as they did every day. Au, who has been acting as a train conductor on a trip from Minnesota to Missouri that day, received a call from his supervisor, letting him know that a member of the public had called to them to report having seen something strange. Apparently, the caller had assured the company there was a live animal on a train car roof. Both Ortega and Au were veterans in their business. In fact, they'd been working for the same company for decades, Au being 12 years in the job and Ortega much more than that. So, it was clear they'd both heard stories about people leaving animals near the trains. However, they never had to witness such a thing in all their years on the job. This time, though, things were about to change. Au, who was instructed to verify the case, Ortega, who was also on the same train, joined the cause, and they both proceeded to investigate. The trailer in which the animal had been seen was parked in Prairie du Chien, a city in the county seat of Crawford, Wisconsin. Upon their arrival, the engineers noticed there was nothing strange in the area. So they thought maybe it was some sort of misunderstanding. However, minutes later, they came across a lumber car, which is a flat-top trailer usually reserved for transporting construction materials such as wood or sheetrock. The engineers thought that this could be the place, so they parked the train and examined the area. Once again, it seemed like everything was in order. Au, however, didn't give up and ended up jumping onto the lumber car, and it was in there when he realized the reports made to the company were correct. Being now on the roof, Au saw something heartbreaking and outraging at the same time. Someone had tied a brown Labrador Weimaraner cross puppy to one of the car's steel girders. The puppy had no water and very little food. Also, the chain binding the canine to the girder made it impossible for her to reach the food. But that's not all. For the majority of the past few days, it had been raining. Thus, the puppy's food was not only unreachable, but also inedible. In an interview with the Dodo, Au explained all the food was wet, soaked, and looked like mush. Of course, the puppy had also been exposed to extreme weather, and there was nothing anyone could do. The situation was so heartbreaking that Au called Ortega to assist him with the puppy. Apparently, the poor dog had been abandoned for 2 to 3 days. Being now both of them on the roof, it was time to rescue the helpless dog. However, it was unclear how she would react to them as she didn't know who they were. So they approached the canine cautiously and tried to let her know they were there to help. At first, the pooch seemed a bit nervous, which was totally understandable given the circumstances. But within a few minutes, both Au and Ortega realized there was nothing to worry about. The canine was actually very pleased to see her rescuers there on top of the roof. And how did they know? Well, she couldn't stop wagging her tail. According to the engineers, seeing her do that was the best thing they saw all day. It was comforting to know the puppy was happy after everything she'd been experiencing. But there was still a lot to do. The poor creature had not eaten anything in days, so Au and Ortega took her to the train where they fed her and gave her a lot of water. The pup proved to be really thirsty, since Ortega recalled she drank like crazy. Now, being fed, there was one more thing to figure out: what to do with the abandoned puppy. Under no circumstances was she going to be left alone again. Both engineers seemed determined to find the lovely dog a new home. Nevertheless, taking her to an adoption center was probably going to result in the puppy waiting for months until someone can finally adopt her. So in order to avoid that, Ortega told Au, "If you don't adopt her, I will." Unfortunately, Au already owned 5 dogs and could not take one more. So in the end, Ortega decided to take the pup for himself. The following day, he took her to the vet and waited while she was being examined. Fortunately, he received good news. Other than the fact that she was a little underweight, she was completely healthy. Ortega decided to name the pup Lulu and took her to his place where he and his wife fell in love with her almost immediately. During the first night, the couple of spouses stayed with Lulu and watched her sleep like new parents would. But if that's not enough, Lulu didn't only find the love of 2 caring humans, but also got a brother and sister as a bonus. That's right, it turns out Ortega owned 2 dogs before adopting Lulu. Surprisingly, they adapted to their new sister very quickly. In a final statement, Ortega said it is unlikely that we'll find whoever left Lulu behind. But the important thing is, she now has a loving home and she'll never be left in the cold again.